Kevin, great to have you once again on the All
Thank you very
Things
much.
Techie
Yeah.
podcast. I was laughing that we did one with Display Note during the week of ISE, where it takes Irish guys to go over to Barcelona to go and talk tech, where we could just do this back in Ireland. But
Yeah.
we're doing it without the booth. But you've got to explain to me some of the new unveilings that Sony had at ISE. A busy week for you, I believe.
Yes, very busy week. A couple of new things. Some stuff, unfortunately, I can't quite talk about yet, but
Don't worry,
I would
I
just
have
say
the
watch this
NDAs.
space. Yeah.
I have the NDAs.
But certainly from what I can talk about, there's some really interesting stuff. You just flashed up the PR release on the new A12 and A40 cameras. They are brilliant. So it's an AI engine built into the camera, so it does auto tracking and auto framing. So it's taken some of the experience from obviously camera operators, but also our Edge Analytics appliance box, and it's putting it into the camera itself. So basically, you log into the UI of the camera and you set up the PTZ tracking areas, and effectively you can set up full body, half body, or close up tracking. And yeah, it's really smooth, really effective. You can set the framing, so if you want the person framed left of center or right of center or in the middle, and really smooth, really quick tracking. And it's because it's using AI, what it'll do is it'll effectively take a picture of the person's face, and then it will look at like clothing patterns, skeletal shape, and stuff like that. And because it's AI, it's anticipating. So if the hips or the shoulders move, the camera says, "Oh, we're getting ready to track." And the camera is then ready to move. So that's why the motion is smoother. It's not like the person is almost out of frame before the camera starts to move. It's anticipating the movement because it's seeing the shoulders or the hips turn. So it's really good camera, really
Because
good
we've seen
track
some
tracking.
similar things before, Kevin, where we've had like tracking, and then especially in boardroom scenarios where people are sitting side by side, and then all of a sudden it's accidentally picking up the person beside beside you. You're saying that these cameras can detect even better.
Yeah. Again, it's more designed for your kind of town hall or lecture theater space and education rather than corporate boardroom. So it's tracking one person, and even because it's taking a picture of the person, it's not, if you walked in front of me, it wouldn't take you instead of me, because obviously it says, "Oh, that's not the face that I'm supposed to be tracking." Now, obviously, once you go outside the predetermined track zone, it will reset.
And how quickly is it resetting? Like if for example,
That's
if you did have a co-host, or if you did have a second
Mhm.
guest speaker, and you're using this in the likes of a lecture theatre, and you're welcoming a guest, would it be quick enough to realize, oh, well, that's the main speaker now?
It's definable. It's user definable in the UI. So basically, if I stood up to introduce you, I'd have to walk off the tracked the track zone, and then it can reset within 1 to 10 to 15 to 20 seconds. So you can define that. So if you set it to reset itself within 1 second, by the time you got up and were at the podium ready to talk, it would be ready to catch you.
Lovely. What type of connections have we got at the back of these? They're 4K ready.
It's 4K, yeah. So it's a HDMI, SDI, NIP with NDI, SRT, and RTSP.
Wow, so you're doing the full works on these
Yeah,
cameras, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
And of course, if you want them in black or white, you can get them in.
Or black or white, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
Yeah, no,
sounds like.
they're very impressive piece of kit. Now, I was well impressed.
Yeah. So apart from that, Sony has announced 4 crystal LED displays: the bright and the rich BH series. You've expanded on the
Yes,
BH
yeah.
series.
So basically, yeah, this is our third generation of what we call crystal LED. So we had the original that we showed from, I think it was 2017 was my first ISE with Sony. I believe that was the first time it was on the actual stand. So up to 2020, and then in 21 we launched the B and the C, and now this is the next generation BH and CH. So 1.2 and 1.5 mil micro LED. We've made some improvements. So the cabinet is easier to install. It's lighter. it's thinner, and it's about 20% more energy efficient than the old one. So we're pushing on our sustainability message with that as well. One of the key things from even from the last gen was the heat output is really low, and we've kept that in the new one, but also improved the installation process for the integrators. I was involved in installing one of the old C series in my office, and it was a little bit awkward, let's just say. Whereas this one, it's very, very simple installation.
Now, we're not going
And
back to
again,
the old-fashioned previous episodes of Kevin claiming his CTSD and what he used to do with TV and tubes with his dad, but it wasn't that difficult now, was it, Kevin?
no.
So,
No, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was
so
good. But again, so
Sony,
again, the C series for contrast, sorry, and B for brightness, sorry, yeah.
yeah, but Sony is then really going on the flagship of this sustainability and energy efficiency models, because it is so important.
Yeah.
It is, like with government, like there's Save SABE AV that's in the States. I think that we're doing a couple of booths at the Influencer Lounge at ISE as well. But it's with the prices of electricity and going up in buildings and across Ireland, you can show the stats then with Sony claiming.
Absolutely, yeah. We did some kind of engineering testing, and they reckon that on energy alone, let's say a 4K unit across 3 years would save over 30,000 sterling or 30,000 euro in energy.
Wow.
Against some of the competition. So they're really pushing this. And again, not only the energy usage of the LED itself, but because it's so efficient, it runs very, very cool, which was something that we were noted for in the previous model as well. So you don't need so much air handling within the room, because one of the drawbacks with LED is the heat that it pumps out. Mm-hmm. Whereas we're more efficient in that it doesn't pump out so much heat because it has some natural ventilation and stuff like that. So the energy costs for the room itself then come down as well, not just from the LED.
Now, in your press releases, following the pandemic, helping businesses prepare for the future of work is important to Sony. So, however, 58% of employees surveyed by Sony say businesses do not have the tools to support their way of working. So, Sony's been really pushing ISE, and going forward, you have a couple of things that are on the pipelines to help businesses. Well, those definitely those panel zoom cameras are going to be a way of helping businesses.
Absolutely.
But what else have you got in your toolbox?
So we a couple of years ago we launched a solution called TIOS, which has kind of come from strength to strength. So the latest releases, we're doing a lot more in terms of the analytics and reporting. So your meeting room usage statistics, energy usage statistics, and then helping facilities see, at a more granular level what's happening in a building, so they can improve operations. So TIOS is kind of signage, wayfinding, virtual reception, desk booking, even car park booking. But we're adding in some other features then around kind of catering support and billing through different cost centers, but also then for the building usage, we're tying in with some BMS type systems to get some more feedback in terms of what's happening in the rooms, so you can improve that usage. So you can see stats around like least used rooms and most used rooms. So if a room isn't being used much, basically you can find out why and make better use of the space.
I think that's important. Like, it seems like there was a lot at ISE. I felt though that with this ISE, and this is my first year of going to ISE in the Fear in Barcelona. I don't know, were you at the ISEs during the COVID pandemic? But
yeah, I was there last May.
It seems that, like, great venue, but it seemed that you just had to turn your back and then your competitors were right behind you in another booth. Compared to in Amsterdam, a bit more. You could say that, like, Sony was one end and your competitor was the other end of the hall. Yeah. But what I really found in that hall was a lot of the TV brands, Sony, Panasonic, and LG, and so forth. There's a big push, not just for meeting rooms and cameras, but the whole idea of TV broadcasting has gone phenomenal with the whole idea of this immersive type of display. Sony was touching on a bit of that as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we're kind of looking at one of the things you'll see often, when you're driving down the motorway, you'll pass an office building, and it's just, you see screens are still on, but they're black or blue, or sometimes it used to be with the projectors were always blue when they're left on. So it's kind of looking at two things there, looking at either making use of the screens when the meeting room isn't being used for a meeting. So either having it default back to like a signage or an info screen, or then even taking it to another level where we're able to set it that, okay, if your meeting ends, leave the screen on for 10 minutes, and then if no one comes in to use the room, then power it down. So you're looking at both pushing the messaging within the corporate environment, and also then looking at the energy efficiency, where you don't necessarily want the screen on all day if the room isn't in use. So we're trying to cover both bases, really. Looking at that, yeah, making more use of the screen in a room. So if someone comes in, they can, the corporate messaging is there. If people passing, they're getting the messaging. So you're allowing that whole kind of, I suppose, corporate branding to be reinforced, but also then you don't want stuff left on unnecessarily.
And this is the key thing, that there is working higher ed, you see it all the time where things are left on and they're like, oh well, it's a laser projector, who cares? But and it will last forever. But it is burning electricity constantly. And hope, I agree with you. The whole idea of like, can this screen be used as a digital signage? Can it be used displaying a logo or something else instead? What I do find though is sometimes it can be in the troubleshooting context for the end user. Of course, Sony will work with all types of control panels across the board, but sometimes you send a command and it's like, well, if Sony's doing their own commands of going, if the room isn't in use for such a length of time, like for example, how, without using any of the well-known brands of touch panels, how does the TV know that, okay, I've been inactive for 15 minutes? Is it built-in IR sensors, or?
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways we can work it. The screen itself runs an SoC, so it has a lot of intelligence built in. So we can basically, when there's no input, it'll default back to a status, and then we can time that status, which is effectively signage, for 10 minutes. And if no new HDMI source comes along, then turn off. So a lot of that intelligence is built into our screens. So we can do it that way, or using TIOS, we can do it through TIOS as well. So TIOS connects into the calendar system.
Okay.
So basically what we can say is we can create if and or else rules. So, if there's a meeting and there's no source present, then, if there's a meeting scheduled, turn on the screen. If there's a meeting and there's no source present, turn off the screen after, and then we put in a delay. So we can create those kind of logic rules within TIOS that monitors the screens and talks to the calendars, or the screen itself has intelligence built in that if there's no signal detected, show the signage. If there's no signal detected after 10 minutes of showing the signage, then turn off.
Yeah, well, you know what? It does actually take the need and requirements for a touch panel to be in some rooms if you can program TIOS to do these, but sometimes end users like to be able to see the physical touch panel to be able to turn things on and off.
Well, I think in many ways, in the kind of the smaller meeting rooms, the need for a control system has kind of gone, because most meeting rooms now are becoming kind of MTR or Zoom rooms. So, we can obviously on and off with signal can be the simplest thing in it built into most screens nowadays. So if that's the case, then you press your Zoom interface, or if it's a bring your own, you just get an on with signal from the HDMI. So I think for a lot of smaller spaces, there's no need for the full control system anymore. Obviously, in larger lecture theaters or large boardrooms, it's still absolutely has its place. But I think in the smaller spaces, you know, kind of 4, 6, 8 person meeting rooms, I don't think there's much of a need of it anymore.
Now, post-COVID, has Sony really caught up with the technology demands? You say, okay, there was some new stuff at ISE, but you're saying
Mm-hmm.
that watch this space. There's going to be more maybe unveiled at Infocom. Are we getting?
Infocom, maybe not, or maybe. Yeah, I think where we're looking at, we're doing kind of, we did a number of pieces of research around kind of during and post COVID, how the way of the world of work is changing. You referenced one there with the asynchronous work, so we're looking at that as sort of work 4.0 nearly at this stage. So it'll be more online whenever and wherever you like. Whereas kind of with hybrid, it was more of online wherever you like.
Mm-hmm.
So asynchronous then is the whenever you like piece. So, you know, it works around the person's life. So, you know, to give you an example, when I work from home, I usually collect the kids. So I try to, you know, kind of be with them for like an hour, hour and a half when they get home from school before my wife comes home. So I might then go back online once my wife is home for make up the time, the hour and a half, or be online earlier. So it's more around that piece. It's more around having the technology to be able to do that. So if the rest of my team are finished and gone for the day, that I can still access the documents that I'm working on with them, or that sort of stuff. So we're doing a lot of research around that, and it's some of it is more to see what we need to do internally as a large organization. You know, Sony globally employs 10,000 odd people between all its various guises. So it's around seeing that and seeing what we need to develop in the future to make those things work. Now, really from a display screen manufacturer, probably not a lot, but certainly from a software manufacturer with systems like TIOS, to be able to see, you know, okay, I missed some discussion because the guys had it at 4 o'clock when I wasn't online. But I look at my TIOS app and I can see when they're going into the office, so I can book a desk near them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that hybrid piece. So I want to be in tomorrow for a few hours, sitting near my colleagues, near my team, stuff like that. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, we do. We must actually mention to our listeners that we were talking about this off mic. Everyone that I've spoken to has had some type of, you know, sinuses, or now we're not saying that it was caused by ISE, but like when you're in a booth for a whole week talking,
Yeah.
I did a lot of reports throughout ISE, and I have to say my throat was killing me. I don't know how you guys do it, Kevin. How do you do it for 7 days?
Oh, I don't know. I think when I came home on the Friday night, I think I just died.
Trying to be
death, yeah.
trying to be daddy, and also then, you know,
Yeah.
and then come back and just go, I need to sleep for a couple of days.
Yeah. Oh, well, I wasn't late. My 7-year-old woke me at 10 to 7, I think it was, the next morning. She just, Daddy. And it's like, oh, he is home, great. So I had to get up. Now, granted, I'm back to it, but yes, it's everyone had colds and coughs coming home.
Yeah. Now, do you like the idea that it's back to February now, with ISE?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed May, but I think with the global calendar with Infocom only a couple of weeks later, it seems to be a week or two earlier than kind of 2019, 2020. I remember it finishing up around this time, kind of, I think my wife came out in 2020 to Amsterdam, and that Friday or the Saturday was Valentine's Day. So
Yes.
it does seem to have moved back a couple of weeks, which meant for me anyway, my January was all consumed with ISE because, as I mentioned earlier off mic, I was involved with part of the setup. So my January was completely taken up with ISE. Whereas at least if it's that 2 weeks later, you have a little bit more time to prepare.
It seemed that every stall, every booth was doing some type of happy hour on the Tuesday. You know,
Yeah,
I just noticed that. I was like,
right.
you know, every booth that I was doing recordings at, it's like, do you want to stay for a drink? It's like, I can't. I have another recording to do. But I did. Don't get me wrong, listeners. I did have some fun as well. But you being on a booth for the whole week, Kevin, you didn't really get to tour around much of ISE.
No, unfortunately, my friends from NEC were right across from me. I had said hello to a couple of the guys I know there, and Barco were right beside me, and Vestel behind me, and so yeah, we was surrounded by friends from the industry.
Friends and also competitors, and trying to keep.
Of course.
Like, we were just talking about this off mic. Did you find that it seems like putting all the visual ones into one hall? Does that work, or do you think it'd be better in a year's time? I hear Mike Blackburn is like going to talk about opening up 2 more halls in 2024. So
yeah, I don't know. I think it's good for visitors, good for the integrators and the end clients. So, I had a number of clients who came to me who were doing kind of researching for new buildings, for example. So they came, had a chat with me, and literally they said we're right across the road here with NEC next. So it was ideal from that perspective. They could timetable
for the likes of us. It's great for walking around. Yeah, and
it makes it easy. You can hit people almost by product set.
Yes, yeah, and possibly the reason for it. I see that some people like spread out a bit, going, okay, are we trying to aim for education, or are we trying to aim for a different vertical, and they can work it that way? But again, it's the expense of having maybe 2 booths in 2 different locations, or with that in mind. Are you going to Infocom then?
That's a good question. I might be.
You might be.
There was some talk that I might be, but we'll watch this space. I'm not sure yet. I need to talk to the boss and the real boss before I know that.
So no hint of what's coming up in the next 6 or 8 months then with Sony. Is it going to be more visuals, or is it going to be more cameras? Can you go even that much?
No, there'll be a new range of our LFDs, our large format displays, with massive improvements, increasing the range and improvements. And we mentioned sustainability earlier. One of the things Sony did a few years ago was create this new product they call Sorplast. I can't remember what the acronym is, but effectively it's recycled and recyclable plastic. So it's also fire retardant. But we are increasing the usage of recycled material. So I think from 2018 to 2023, we've seen a 60% reduction on virgin plastics. So this new range that's coming out will all use a common chassis across the 3 different models that'll be brought, and it's all Sorplast. So that's one thing to keep an eye for.
Well, I hope you do get over to Infocom. I'm keen to see what happens now in the next 6 to 8 months with Sony. If people want to get in touch with you, or to find out the latest products of Sony, where's the best place to go?
So my email address is kevin.donnelly@sony.com. If they want to drop an email there, or on LinkedIn, or obviously pro.sony is the website. They can find most of the information there. But yeah, happy for anyone to get in touch with me. Happy to have a chat.
And of course, being so busy, you didn't get a chance to celebrate your CTSD with the Vixa.
I just about did.
Oh, did you? Okay,
I
very
did
good.
indeed, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I did.